The Baron rode with his bride until he saw his ex-wife serving on the neighboring farm. The morning sun rose over the quiet countryside, spilling golden light across the Baron's estate. The air was crisp and carried the gentle scent of blooming flowers from the gardens that lined the manor. Birds sang cheerfully, and the distant sound of a brook flowing through the meadow added a serene melody to the morning. Today was no ordinary day. It was a day the Baron had long awaited. After years of living with the weight of the past, he was finally starting a new chapter of his life. And at his side, holding his hand tightly, was Clara, his new bride. The Baron's heart beat faster with a mix of excitement and nervousness as he mounted his horse. The animal's sleek coat gleamed in the morning sunlight, and it pranced proudly beneath him, as if sensing the importance of the occasion. Clara climbed gracefully onto her own horse, her dress flowing like a river of soft fabric. Her eyes sparkled with joy, and her smile lit up the space around her. She looked at the Baron and whispered, "Shall we ride together, my love?" The Baron nodded, his usual composed demeanor softened by the warmth in Clara's voice. As they began their ride along the winding path that led through their estate, the couple felt a profound sense of peace. The trees along the trail swayed gently, creating patterns of sunlight and shadow on the ground. The birds flitted from branch to branch, singing songs that seemed written for this very moment. Clara laughed softly at a playful squirrel that darted across their path, and the Baron chuckled, feeling a lightness in his chest that had been missing for far too long. As they rode, the Baron could not help but reflect on the journey that had led him here. Life had not always been kind to him. His previous marriage had ended painfully, leaving scars that had taken years to heal. For a long time, he had felt alone, burdened by memories he wished he could forget. But Clara had come into his life like a gentle breeze, carrying hope and warmth that slowly healed the wounds of the past. With her, he felt understood, cherished, and most importantly, free to be himself again. The couple passed through the heart of the estate, where workers tended to the gardens and fields. Some paused to wave, others smiled quietly, acknowledging the happiness that seemed to radiate from the Baron and his bride. It was a simple gesture, but it reminded the Baron of the sense of community he had always valued. Life on the estate was not only about wealth or status, it was about people, their daily efforts, and the bonds that tied everyone together. Clara noticed the workers and waved to them with gentle grace. The Baron watched her, feeling a surge of gratitude. She had a natural kindness that made everyone around her feel at ease. They continued their ride toward the rolling hills that bordered the estate. The path narrowed as it wound through fields of tall grass, dotted with wildflowers swaying in the breeze. The Baron's horse moved steadily, its hooves making soft thuds on the earth. Clara leaned slightly forward, her eyes scanning the horizon with curiosity and delight. She pointed out a cluster of deer grazing peacefully in a distant meadow, and the Baron smiled at her excitement. Moments like these, simple yet profound, made him realize that happiness was not in grand gestures but in shared experiences and quiet observations. As the couple rode, their conversation flowed easily. They spoke of their plans for the future, of the gardens they wished to cultivate, and the small renovations they hoped to make in the manor. Clara's eyes glimmered with excitement as she described her ideas for the kitchen garden, imagining rows of vegetables, fragrant herbs, and colorful flowers. The Baron listened attentively, offering suggestions and encouragement. He marveled at how her creativity and energy breathed life into every plan they discussed. It was in these shared dreams that he found a deeper connection with Clara, a bond that went beyond words and touched the very essence of his being. Time seemed to pass differently on this ride. The sun climbed higher, casting a warm glow over the landscape. Butterflies danced above the flowers, and the gentle rustle of leaves created a soothing rhythm. The Baron felt a sense of freedom he had not known in years. There was no rush, no pressing duties, only the open path ahead and the presence of the woman he loved. Clara, sensing his reflective mood, reached out and gently touched his hand. "I am glad we are here together," she said softly. The Baron turned to her, his eyes filled with emotion, and replied, "There is nowhere else I would rather be." As they approached a small grove of trees, the Baron noticed a wooden bridge crossing a narrow stream. The water sparkled in the sunlight, and the gentle sound of it flowing over smooth stones was almost musical. He guided his horse carefully across, and Clara followed with ease. Once they reached the other side, they paused for a moment to take in the view. The rolling hills stretched endlessly, covered in shades of green that seemed almost magical. The Baron felt a sense of wonder, a reminder that the world was still full of beauty waiting to be discovered. Clara dismounted and approached the edge of the stream. She knelt down and let her fingers touch the cool water, laughing softly at the sensation. The Baron watched her, feeling a deep sense of admiration. She had a way of finding joy in simple things, a quality that made life richer and more meaningful. He stepped closer, kneeling beside her, and together they dipped their hands into the water. The moment was intimate and peaceful, a small sanctuary amidst the vastness of the estate. For the Baron, it was a reminder that happiness could be found in the present, not just in memories or dreams. After some time, they mounted their horses again and continued along the path, moving toward the heart of the village that bordered the estate. Children ran along the sides of the road, waving and calling out greetings. Some of the villagers had heard of the Baron's wedding and had gathered to see the couple. The Baron and Clara waved back, feeling a warm connection with the people whose lives intertwined with their own. The Baron reflected on the importance of community, realizing that wealth and title were meaningless without the bonds of friendship and respect that tied people together. As they neared the village square, the couple was met with a scene of bustling life. Market stalls were being set up, merchants arranged their goods, and the aroma of freshly baked bread filled the air. Clara's eyes lit up with curiosity, and she suggested they explore the market before returning home. The Baron agreed, happy to see her enthusiasm. They walked among the stalls, greeting vendors and sampling local treats. Clara's laughter was infectious, drawing smiles from those around her. The Baron felt a deep sense of contentment, knowing that he had found a partner who brought joy not only to his life, but to the lives of others as well. By the time they returned to the estate, the sun was high in the sky, casting long shadows across the gardens. The Baron and Clara dismounted, their hearts full and their spirits lifted. They took a moment to rest under the shade of a large oak tree, reflecting on the morning's ride. For the Baron, it was more than just a journey through fields and villages. It was a symbolic ride into a new life, a life filled with love, hope, and possibility. Clara rested her head on his shoulder, and the Baron felt a profound sense of gratitude. After the hardships and heartaches of the past, he had found happiness, and it was brighter and more fulfilling than he had ever imagined. As they sat together, the Baron thought about the road ahead. There would be challenges, of course. Life was never without its difficulties, but with Clara by his side, he felt ready to face anything. The love they shared was a source of strength, a steady flame that could weather any storm. He looked at her, and in that moment, he knew that this was the beginning of a new chapter, one that would be written with laughter, kindness, and unwavering support for each other. And so, the Baron and his bride spent the morning in quiet joy, riding through fields, exploring villages, and sharing dreams. The world around them seemed to embrace their happiness, from the chirping birds to the waving villagers. For the Baron, this was not just a day of celebration. It was a promise of a future built on love, trust, and the simple pleasures that made life truly meaningful. With Clara by his side, he knew that whatever came next, they would face it together, hand in hand, hearts united, ready to embrace the life they were creating. The Baron and Clara were riding along a narrow dirt path that wound around the rolling hills at the edge of the estate. The morning's joy still lingered in the Baron's heart, and he smiled at Clara as they moved slowly, enjoying the gentle rhythm of the horses beneath them. Clara's laughter occasionally floated through the air as she pointed out a butterfly hovering over a cluster of wildflowers or a bird darting through the branches. The Baron felt a rare sense of peace, the kind that came only when one's heart was completely at ease. As they approached a section of the path bordered by tall grass and wildflowers, the Baron's horse slowed. Something caught his attention. Across the small stream that ran beside the path, he noticed a figure working in the field of the neighboring farm. At first, he thought it might be one of the workers he knew from nearby villages, but as he squinted against the sunlight, recognition struck him like a sudden gust of wind. It was Marguerite, his ex-wife. She was bent over, tending to the small vegetable garden behind the farmhouse, her hair tied neatly and her hands moving with practiced skill. The years had been kind to her, yet her presence brought a rush of memories that the Baron had thought were long buried. He felt a strange mixture of surprise, shock, and something he could not quite name. It had been years since they had parted ways, and seeing her now, in such a simple and humble setting, stirred emotions he had not expected to feel. Clara noticed his sudden pause and the tension in his posture. "Is everything all right?" she asked, her voice gentle but curious. The Baron shook his head slightly, trying to steady himself. I think I see someone I know," he admitted carefully, not wanting to alarm Clara unnecessarily. Clara tilted her head, following his gaze. At first, she saw only the busy figure in the garden, but then, as the Baron spoke her name, she realized who it was. "Oh," Clara whispered softly, a subtle wave of emotion passing over her face. She had sensed that this moment might come eventually, though she had not expected it so soon or so unexpectedly. The Baron's ex-wife, the woman who had once shared his life and then left, was now standing before them, absorbed in her work. Clara kept her composure, though a flicker of curiosity and perhaps a tiny spark of insecurity passed through her. The Baron dismounted his horse, and Clara followed, curious to see how he would handle this unexpected encounter. The horses nickered softly, sensing the change in their riders' moods, and shifted their weight as if waiting. The Baron walked slowly toward the fence that separated the estates, his steps careful and measured. Marguerite looked up at that precise moment, brushing a strand of hair from her face, and their eyes met. For a heartbeat, time seemed to stand still. Marguerite's expression was one of polite surprise. She had not expected to see the Baron again, and certainly not with a new companion by his side. Yet she did not show anger or bitterness. Her demeanor was calm, composed, and almost serene. "Baron," she said, her voice steady, "it has been a long time." "Yes," the Baron replied, trying to keep his tone casual though his heart was pounding. "It has. I did not expect to see you here." He gestured subtly to the field where she had been working. "You seem well." Marguerite nodded, a small, polite smile appearing on her lips. "I am well. Life has a way of taking us in unexpected directions, doesn't it?" Her voice carried no accusation, no resentment. It was simply a statement of fact, yet the simplicity of it made the Baron feel a pang of something he could not immediately name. Clara remained quietly behind him, observing. She had expected curiosity and perhaps tension, but what she saw surprised her. The Baron's posture was slightly rigid, his eyes focused on Marguerite with a mix of recognition and caution. She noticed the subtle changes in his expression, the memories flickering across his face, the shadow of old feelings he had worked so hard to bury. Clara's heart tightened slightly, but she reminded herself that this was part of the past, not the present. The Baron and Marguerite exchanged brief pleasantries, carefully navigating the unspoken history between them. There was an awkwardness in the air, not harsh or bitter but delicate and tense, like walking across thin ice. Marguerite's presence reminded the Baron of the life he had once had, the joys, the mistakes, and the eventual separation that had brought him both pain and growth. Yet seeing her now, strong and dignified despite a simpler life, he realized how much she had changed, and perhaps how much he had changed as well. Clara stepped closer, placing a gentle hand on the Baron's arm. "Shall we say hello?" she asked softly. The Baron glanced at her, gratitude and affection shining in his eyes. He nodded slowly. Together, the three of them approached each other, careful to maintain respect and politeness. "Marguerite," Clara said kindly, extending her hand, "I am Clara. It is a pleasure to meet you." Marguerite looked at Clara and smiled, a genuine and warm smile that eased some of the tension. "The pleasure is mine," she replied. There was no hesitation, no judgment, only civility and a quiet acknowledgement of the situation. Clara relaxed slightly, realizing that Marguerite bore no ill will toward her. The Baron felt a mixture of relief and lingering unease. The encounter had begun without conflict, but the flood of emotions made him suddenly aware of how deeply the past could affect the present. Memories of arguments, laughter, and shared dreams resurfaced, intermingled with the fresh joy he felt with Clara. It was confusing and overwhelming, yet he knew he had to remain grounded in the present. Clara was his partner now, his confidant, and the person with whom he would face the future. Marguerite continued her work in the garden, offering polite conversation while attending to the vegetables. The Baron found himself struggling to concentrate on small talk, his mind wandering to the years they had spent apart and the life she had chosen for herself. She seemed content, grounded in simplicity, and the contrast to their previous life together was striking. He realized that people changed, and circumstances could shape someone in ways no one could predict. As they spoke, neighbors from the surrounding farms paused to observe. It was rare to see the Baron and his ex-wife in such proximity, and whispers of curiosity and mild gossip began to spread through the village. Yet the Baron paid them no mind, focused entirely on the delicate dance of conversation in front of him. Clara, sensing his distraction, maintained a composed demeanor, subtly reinforcing her presence with quiet confidence. The conversation, though polite, carried layers of meaning that only the Baron and Marguerite understood. Every word, every glance was a reminder of shared history, of choices made, and of the consequences that had followed. The Baron realized that while the past could not be changed, it could be acknowledged, respected, and perhaps reconciled in some way. After several moments, Marguerite stood upright and wiped her hands on her apron. "I must return to my work," she said, her tone polite yet final. "It was good to see you, Baron. And you, Clara." The Baron nodded, a mix of emotions swirling in his chest. "Yes, it was good to see you, Marguerite. Take care." Clara reached for the Baron's hand as they stepped back toward their horses. "Are you all right?" she asked gently. The Baron took a deep breath and exhaled slowly, feeling the tension ebb slightly. "Yes," he replied. "It is strange, but I am all right." They mounted their horses once more, continuing along the path with the image of Marguerite in the field lingering in the Baron's mind. The quiet of the countryside returned, and the rhythmic sound of hooves against the dirt path helped soothe the storm of emotions. Clara remained close, her presence grounding him, reminding him that the past had shaped him but did not define the future. As the sun climbed higher in the sky, casting warm light over the hills and fields, the Baron realized something important. Life was full of unexpected encounters, moments that tested patience, understanding, and emotional strength. Seeing Marguerite again had been challenging, but it also reminded him of the growth he had experienced. With Clara by his side, he felt prepared to face whatever challenges lay ahead, knowing that the past could be honored without overshadowing the present. By the time they reached the top of a hill overlooking the estate, the Baron felt a sense of calm return. The view stretched endlessly, with fields, forests, and distant farms blending into a patchwork of green and gold. Clara looked at him with quiet understanding, and he smiled, grateful for her patience and presence. The encounter had been unexpected, emotional, and complicated, but it had not broken them. Instead, it had reminded him of the strength of his bond with Clara and the resilience of the human heart. And so they rode together, hand in hand, hearts full of reflection and hope, ready to continue the journey of life side by side, knowing that the past would always be a part of them but would never dictate the love and happiness they were building for the future. The barren end. Clara rode in silence after the brief encounter with Marguerite. The countryside stretched before them, peaceful and unchanged, but the Baron felt a storm of thoughts swirling in his mind. His heart was heavy with memories he had tried to forget, and yet seeing Marguerite again had brought them all rushing back. The winding paths, the gentle sway of the trees, the distant sound of birdsong, it all felt the same as it had years ago, yet nothing was truly the same. He stole glances at Clara, who rode beside him, her posture calm, her eyes forward, though he sensed she could feel the weight of his distraction. Finally, Clara spoke softly, "Baron, do you want to talk about it?" Her voice was gentle, patient, inviting him to share without forcing him. The Baron hesitated. Part of him wanted to bury the feelings, to push them aside and enjoy the day with Clara. But another part knew that keeping silence would only make the emotions heavier. He took a deep breath and exhaled slowly, feeling the warm sun on his face and the breeze ruffling his hair. "It's complicated," he began, choosing his words carefully. "Seeing Marguerite again, it's been many years, yet it feels like no time has passed at all. So many memories came back in an instant, good and bad. I thought I had moved on, but it has reminded me of everything we shared and everything we lost." He paused, searching Clara's eyes for understanding. "I don't want this to change anything between us, but I cannot ignore how I feel." Clara listened quietly, nodding, her expression thoughtful. "I understand," she said finally. "You cannot erase the past, and it is natural to feel conflicted, but I also know that the life we are building together is ours. No one can take that from us." She reached out and lightly touched his hand. The Baron felt a wave of reassurance wash over him. Clara's understanding, her calm acceptance, gave him strength. For the first time since seeing Marguerite, he felt the tension in his chest ease slightly. They continued their ride, and the Baron found himself reflecting more deeply. Marguerite had once been a central part of his life, a companion with whom he had shared dreams, laughter, and challenges. Their separation had been painful, leaving wounds that had taken years to heal. Seeing her again reminded him of the mistakes, the arguments, and the misunderstandings that had driven them apart. But it also reminded him of her strengths, her resilience, her patience, and her ability to face life's hardships with grace. Clara noticed his faraway expression and decided to gently change the mood. "Look over there," she said, pointing to a small orchard bathed in sunlight. "The trees are full of blossoms. Isn't it beautiful?" The Baron followed her gaze. Indeed, the orchard glowed with delicate flowers, white and pink petals swaying in the breeze. He allowed himself a small smile. Nature, as always, had a way of calming the heart and bringing perspective. They rode toward the orchard, the crunch of their horses' hooves on the soft earth creating a steady rhythm. As they approached, the Baron noticed that some of the blossoms had begun to fall, drifting lazily to the ground like tiny pieces of snow. He dismounted and stepped toward one of the trees, running his fingers gently along the petals. Clara joined him, standing beside him in quiet contemplation. The Baron realized that life was full of cycles, growth, bloom, and eventually change. Just like the orchard, people grew, bloomed, and changed with time. Marguerite's presence had reminded him of that, and now he could see how much he himself had grown. "Do you ever think about the past, Baron?" Clara asked softly, breaking the silence. Her question was simple, but it carried weight. The Baron thought carefully before answering. "I do," he said finally, "but I try not to dwell on it. The past shapes who we are, yes, but it does not define the life we are living now. Seeing Marguerite today reminded me of that. It reminded me that while memories are part of us, the present is what truly matters." Clara nodded, a small smile playing on her lips. "I am glad you feel that way," she said. "Because our present is beautiful and I want us to focus on building it together." Her words brought warmth to the Baron's heart. He reached for her hand, holding it gently. "You are right," he said. "Our life together is what matters, and I am grateful every day for you." As they walked their horses along the orchard path, they noticed a small wooden bench beneath a large, ancient tree. The branches stretched wide, providing generous shade, and the ground beneath was soft with fallen petals. They dismounted and sat together, the silence between them comfortable now, filled with reflection rather than tension. The Baron's mind wandered back to Marguerite again, but this time with a sense of acceptance rather than confusion. He realized that she had moved on, living a life of purpose and dignity, and he too had moved forward, finding love and happiness with Clara. The Baron spoke quietly, almost to himself. "It is strange how life brings us full circle sometimes," he said. "We meet people again, places change, and yet memories remain. Seeing Marguerite today, it reminded me of who I was and who I have become, and it has reminded me to treasure what I have now with you." Clara squeezed his hand, her eyes shining with emotion. "I am honored to be part of your life," she replied, "and I promise to walk with you, no matter what life brings." The moment was interrupted by the sound of laughter from a nearby field. A group of children from the village had gathered to play near the orchard, their carefree joy filling the air. The Baron watched them, a smile tugging at his lips. Clara's laughter joined theirs, light and melodic, and the Baron felt a sense of peace settle over him. The past had made its presence known, but the present offered happiness, hope, and the promise of a future built together. Eventually, they resumed their ride, moving along the path that led toward the small hill overlooking the neighboring farm. The Baron felt a sense of anticipation mixed with apprehension. He knew that the encounter with Marguerite was not something he could easily forget, and that at some point, he might need to confront his feelings more fully. But for now, he allowed himself to focus on the beauty around him. The sun glinting on the hills, the soft sway of grass in the breeze, and the steady presence of Clara beside him. As they approached the top of the hill, the Baron caught another glimpse of Marguerite working in her garden. She looked up briefly and waved politely. The Baron returned the gesture, feeling a sense of closure in that small acknowledgement. It was as if an unspoken understanding had passed between them. The past was remembered, respected, but it no longer held power over the present. Clara noticed the exchange and smiled, her presence reinforcing the Baron's sense of calm. The Baron reflected on the complexities of human relationships. Life often brought people together and then separated them, sometimes in ways that were painful, sometimes in ways that were unexpectedly gentle. Seeing Marguerite again had been a reminder of the depth of human emotion, the joys, the regrets, the lessons learned, and the growth that came from experience. He realized that acknowledging the past did not weaken the present. Rather, it enriched it, giving him a deeper understanding of himself and the love he shared with Clara. The Baron and Clara spent the remainder of the afternoon exploring the hills and meadows around the estate. They paused by a small stream, letting their horses drink and resting for a moment beneath the shade of tall trees. The Baron felt the tension of the morning fade completely. The encounter with Marguerite, though unexpected, had allowed him to confront old emotions and emerge with clarity and appreciation for what he had now. Clara's presence had been a stabilizing force, helping him navigate his feelings with honesty and grace. As the sun began to lower in the sky, casting warm hues over the hills, the Baron and Clara rode back toward the estate. The path was familiar, yet every moment felt new, filled with appreciation for the simple pleasures of life. They spoke of dreams, laughter, and plans for the future, each word strengthening the bond they shared. The Baron realized that happiness was not about avoiding the past, but about embracing the present with love, understanding, and courage. By the time they reached the manor, the sky was painted in shades of orange and pink, signaling the end of the day. The Baron dismounted, feeling a sense of gratitude for the experiences of the day, the joy of riding with Clara, the unexpected encounter with Marguerite, and the reflection it had inspired. He turned to Clara, taking her hands in his. "Today was enlightening," he said softly. "It reminded me of how far we have come and how important it is to cherish every moment we have together." Clara smiled, her eyes shining with warmth. "Yes," she replied. "Life is full of surprises, but love and understanding help us face them all. We have each other, and that is what matters most." The Baron nodded, feeling a deep sense of peace. He knew that tomorrow and the days to come would bring new experiences, challenges, and joys. But with Clara by his side, he felt ready to face anything. And as they walked into the manor together, hand in hand, the Baron carried with him a renewed appreciation for life, love, and the delicate balance between past and present. The evening had fallen softly over the countryside, painting the sky in deep shades of purple and gold. The Baron and Clara had returned to the manor after their long ride, yet neither of them felt ready to retreat indoors. They walked slowly along the stone pathway that led through the gardens, the air cool and filled with the faint fragrance of roses and lavender. Clara's hand rested gently in the Baron's, a comforting presence against the swirling thoughts in his mind. The events of the day played over and over in the Baron's head. Seeing Marguerite again had stirred memories he had tried to forget. The laughter they had shared, the arguments, the moments of joy and sorrow that had shaped him. And yet, alongside the weight of the past, there was a sense of clarity he could not ignore. He realized that facing the past, acknowledging it without fear or regret, was a necessary step in embracing the life he had with Clara. Clara sensed his unease and squeezed his hand gently. "Baron," she said softly, "I can see that your thoughts are far away. You don't need to hold them in. You can speak to me." The Baron looked at her, gratitude in his eyes. Clara's patience and understanding had always been a source of strength for him, and now more than ever he needed that support. "You were right," he began after a pause, his voice low but steady. "Seeing Marguerite today, it reminded me of who I once was, of mistakes I made, and of the love I lost. But it also reminded me of who I have become and of the life I am building with you. I cannot ignore the past, Clara, but I also cannot let it overshadow what we have now. I need to speak about it to understand it fully." Clara nodded, her eyes warm and encouraging. "Then speak," she said. "I am here to listen, not to judge." The Baron took a deep breath, feeling the tension ease slightly as he began to recount the memories that had surfaced. He spoke of his life with Marguerite, of the early days filled with excitement and dreams, of the challenges they faced together, and the misunderstandings that eventually drove them apart. He spoke honestly, without embellishment, acknowledging both the joys and the mistakes. Clara listened quietly, never interrupting, offering only her presence as a safe space for him to share. As he spoke, he realized that recounting these events was not painful in the way he had feared. Instead, it was liberating. He could confront the past openly, without fear, and with Clara beside him, he felt the freedom to be vulnerable. "I used to believe that love was simple," he admitted, "that if two people cared for each other, nothing could go wrong, but life taught me otherwise. I learned that love requires patience, understanding, and the willingness to accept change. And now, with you, Clara, I see love in its truest form, steady, supportive, and full of trust." Clara's eyes glistened with emotion. "I am honored that you feel that way," she said softly. "We cannot change the past, Baron, but we can shape the present and future, and I want us to do that together, fully, honestly, and without fear." Her words were simple, yet they carried immense weight. The Baron felt a deep warmth spread through his chest. Clara's acceptance, her unwavering faith in their relationship, gave him strength he did not know he still had. The Baron fell silent for a moment, gazing at the horizon where the last rays of the sun were disappearing behind the hills. He thought of Marguerite once again, recalling her presence in the fields, her quiet dignity, and the life she had chosen. He realized that she, too, had grown and changed just as he had. Seeing her had not been a threat to his happiness. Instead, it had been a reminder of the resilience of the human spirit, the ability to face hardships and emerge stronger. "Clara," he said after a pause, "I want you to know that you are my present, my future. Marguerite's place is in the past, and it always will be. But seeing her reminded me of the importance of honesty, of confronting emotions rather than burying them. That is what I promise to do with you, always be honest, always face life together." Clara smiled, her hand resting over his heart. "And I promise the same, Baron," she said. "Together, we will navigate life's surprises, challenges, and joys. There is nothing we cannot face as long as we are united." For a moment they stood in silence, listening to the soft rustle of leaves and the distant hoot of an owl. The world seemed to pause around them, giving space for reflection and understanding. The Baron felt a profound sense of gratitude, not only for Clara's presence, but for the clarity that had come from confronting the past. Life had tested him, brought him pain and disappointment, but it had also brought growth, understanding, and now, a deeper connection with the woman he loved. Breaking the silence, Clara asked gently, "Do you think you will ever speak to Marguerite again?" The Baron considered her question carefully. "Perhaps," he said slowly, "not to relive the past but to acknowledge it, to show respect for the person she is now. Life moves forward, Clara, and when it does, it is important to honor what has come before without letting it interfere with the present. If I do speak to her again, it will be with clarity, with acceptance, and with no lingering attachments." Clara nodded, understanding. "That is wise," she said, "and it is what makes love strong, not fear of the past, but trust and commitment in the present." Her words echoed in the Baron's mind, reinforcing the understanding he had gained over the course of the day. They continued to walk through the garden, the cool evening air brushing against their faces. The Baron spoke of his dreams for the future, plans for the manor, the gardens, and the life he wished to create with Clara. He shared his hopes with honesty, including the lessons he had learned from past mistakes. Clara listened with interest and enthusiasm, contributing ideas and sharing her own vision for their life together. The conversation was light yet meaningful, filled with laughter and thoughtful reflection. As night fell completely, stars began to appear in the sky, twinkling like tiny beacons of hope. The Baron and Clara paused beneath a tall oak tree, looking up at the vast expanse above. "It is incredible," Clara said softly, "how small our troubles feel when we see the world from this perspective." The Baron nodded, feeling a deep sense of peace. The stars reminded him of the vastness of life, the endless possibilities, and the importance of cherishing each moment. "Life is unpredictable," the Baron said quietly, "but it is also beautiful. Seeing Marguerite today reminded me that the past is a teacher, not a prison. It has shaped me, but it does not define me. And being with you now, Clara, reminds me that love, trust, and understanding are what truly matter." Clara leaned her head on his shoulder, her presence calming and reassuring. "And we will face life together," she said. "Whatever comes, we will meet it side by side, with courage, honesty, and love." The Baron felt a deep sense of closure settle over him. The encounter with Marguerite had stirred emotions, but it had also offered insight and perspective. He realized that his feelings were no longer tied to the past in a way that could disrupt his present. Instead, they were a reminder of the journey he had taken, of growth, resilience, and the enduring power of love. For the rest of the night, the Baron and Clara walked through the gardens, enjoying the serenity and quietude of the estate. They spoke of dreams, laughed at small memories, and shared moments of comfortable silence. Each step strengthened their bond, and each conversation deepened their understanding of one another. The Baron felt a renewed appreciation for Clara, not only as his partner, but as his confidant, his anchor, and the person who helped him navigate the complexities of life with patience and grace. Finally, they returned to the manor, the soft glow of lanterns welcoming them home. The Baron paused at the doorway, taking a deep breath and looking back at the gardens. The day had been filled with unexpected encounters, emotional challenges, and meaningful reflection. Yet he felt lighter, wiser, and more certain of the path he was on. He turned to Clara, taking her hand in his. "Thank you," he said quietly, "for being with me today, for listening, and for understanding. I could not have faced this without you." Clara smiled, her eyes bright with warmth. "And I will always be with you, Baron. Together we can face anything life brings." The Baron felt a sense of calm determination. The past had been acknowledged, the present embraced, and the future filled with promise. Marguerite's presence had served as a gentle reminder of life's complexities, but it had not shaken the bond he shared with Clara. Instead, it had reinforced it, showing him that love, trust, and honesty could overcome even the most unexpected challenges. As they stepped into the manor, the Baron knew that the journey ahead would continue to test them, to bring surprises and lessons, but he also knew that they would face it together. With Clara by his side, he felt prepared for whatever came next, secure in their love, strengthened by understanding, and ready to embrace the life they were building together. The morning light filtered gently through the tall windows of the manor, spilling golden warmth across the rooms. Birds sang outside, and the soft rustle of leaves in the gardens created a peaceful melody. The Baron woke early, a sense of calm filling his heart. The events of the previous day, the encounter with Marguerite, the reflection on the past, and the honest conversation with Clara had left him with a newfound clarity. Today felt like a fresh beginning, a day to embrace the life he had chosen and the love he shared with Clara. Clara was already awake, seated by the window with a small notebook in hand. She was sketching the garden outside, capturing the delicate flowers, the twisting branches of the trees, and the way the sunlight danced across the lawn. The Baron watched her quietly for a moment, struck by her focus and the serene expression on her face. She looked up, smiled, and waved him over. "Good morning," she said softly. "Did you sleep well?" "I did," the Baron replied, approaching her, "and I feel lighter today. Yesterday brought so many memories, but also understanding. I feel ready to move forward truly and fully." Clara closed her notebook and reached for his hand, her fingers intertwining with his. "I am glad," she said. "The past is part of us, yes, but it does not control us. Today is ours, and we can make it as beautiful as we wish." After a simple breakfast in the sunlit dining room, the Baron and Clara decided to take a walk through the estate. The air was fresh, carrying the gentle scent of morning dew and blossoming flowers. Their horses had been tended to, and the path ahead was calm and inviting. As they walked, the Baron noticed the familiar sights, the orchard with its delicate petals, the meadows stretching toward the distant hills, and the small stream that wound through the fields. Everything seemed unchanged, yet it all felt brighter, filled with renewed meaning. They passed the orchard first, where the trees stood tall, their branches now dotted with young fruit. Clara reached out to touch one of the branches, smiling at the tiny apples beginning to grow. "Life keeps moving forward," she said softly. "Even after winter the trees bloom again, and so do we." The Baron nodded, reflecting on her words. Indeed, life moved forward, carrying lessons from the past but always offering opportunities for growth, renewal, and joy. As they continued their walk, they approached the hill that overlooked the neighboring farm. From here, the Baron could see Marguerite in the distance, tending to her chores. She waved briefly, a small, polite gesture that the Baron returned with a calm smile. Seeing her there, content in her own life, no longer stirred tension or confusion. Instead, it brought a sense of closure, a recognition that the past was respected, acknowledged, and now peacefully behind him. Clara noticed his reaction and squeezed his hand. "You are at peace," she said quietly. "I can see it." The Baron smiled. "Yes," he replied. "It is strange but true. Life is full of surprises, yet it also teaches us to find clarity, even in moments of uncertainty." Seeing Marguerite again was part of that lesson, and I am grateful for it. But my heart is here with you. Clara's smile widened, her eyes bright with affection and trust. They wandered down the hill, entering a small grove of trees that marked the edge of the estate. The grove was quiet, filled with dappled sunlight and the soft hum of nature. The Baron stopped for a moment, breathing in the fresh air and letting the tranquility settle over him. "It is moments like this," he said softly, "that remind me why I cherish life so deeply. The beauty of the world, the love we share, the lessons we learn, they all make life worth living." Clara leaned on his shoulder, her presence calming and reassuring. "And we will have many more moments like this," she said. "Together, we can face anything, celebrate every joy, and overcome any challenge. Life is not always simple, but it is meaningful because we share it." The Baron nodded, feeling the truth of her words resonate deeply within him. Together they had faced uncertainty, reflected on the past, and embraced their present. And now they looked forward to the future with hope and confidence. The couple spent the rest of the morning exploring the estate, visiting the stables, the vegetable gardens, and the small orchard where Clara had dreamed of planting new flowers. The Baron felt a deep sense of satisfaction in seeing the estate alive with activity, workers tending to the land, animals grazing peacefully, and the rhythm of daily life continuing as it always had. It was a reminder that life moved steadily, carrying joys, challenges, and opportunities to grow, no matter what had happened before. Around midday, they stopped by the stream that ran through the property. Clara knelt to let her fingers touch the cool water, smiling at the gentle ripples. The Baron joined her, and they both leaned down to watch the sunlight glimmer across the surface. "Water teaches patience," Clara said softly. "It flows steadily, shaping the land over time, never rushing yet always moving forward." The Baron smiled at the metaphor. "And so must we," he said. "We shape our lives, gently but with intention, learning from the past but always moving forward." As afternoon arrived, the Baron suggested they ride toward the village nearby. The streets were lively, filled with people preparing for the evening market. Villagers waved as they passed, and the Baron felt a sense of connection with the community he had long admired. Clara rode beside him, laughing lightly as children waved and shouted greetings. The Baron realized that happiness was not a grand gesture or achievement. It was found in these simple interactions, in shared smiles, in moments of connection with the world around them. They stopped at the village square, where merchants displayed fruits, vegetables, baked goods, and handmade crafts. Clara's eyes sparkled as she examined the colorful array of goods. "Everything is so vibrant," she said. "It reminds me that life is full of beauty when we take the time to notice it." The Baron nodded, appreciating her perspective. He purchased a few small treats for them to enjoy later, feeling content in the simplicity of the moment. After a leisurely stroll through the village, they returned to the estate as the sun began to dip toward the horizon. The sky glowed with warm shades of orange, pink, and gold. The Baron felt a profound sense of gratitude for the day, the reflection, the encounters, the laughter, and the quiet moments of peace. Clara's presence had been a constant source of strength, and he knew that with her by his side, he could face any challenge, enjoy every joy, and embrace the uncertainties of life without fear. As evening fell, they walked through the gardens once more, hand in hand. The Baron paused to look at the blooming flowers, the neatly trimmed hedges, and the gentle sway of the trees in the evening breeze. "Life is full of changes," he said softly, "but it also offers moments of beauty that remind us what matters most. Today, I have been reminded of the importance of love, understanding, and trust, and I am grateful for you, Clara, for walking this journey with me." Clara smiled, her eyes reflecting the warm glow of the setting sun. "And I am grateful for you, Baron," she replied, "for your honesty, your reflection, and your willingness to face the past with courage. Together, we will continue to build a life filled with love, respect, and happiness." As night descended, the manor glowed softly with the light from lanterns and candles. The Baron and Clara stood on the balcony, looking out over the estate. The fields stretched endlessly, dotted with lights from distant cottages, and the stars began to appear in the sky, twinkling like tiny diamonds. The Baron felt a deep sense of peace. The past had been acknowledged, the present embraced, and the future awaited with promise. He turned to Clara, taking her hands in his. "No matter what comes," he said, "we will face it together. The past is a part of us, but it will not define us. Our love, our trust, and our commitment will guide us forward." Clara nodded, smiling. "Yes, Baron. Together we will face every day, every challenge, and every joy, and we will do so with love, patience, and understanding." The Baron realized that life was a continuous journey, filled with moments that tested the heart, offered lessons, and brought unexpected encounters. Seeing Marguerite had been a part of that journey, a reminder of the past, and a chance to reflect and grow. But now he was free to embrace the life he had chosen, fully and without hesitation. Clara's presence had been the anchor that allowed him to do so, and he felt a deep sense of gratitude for her. As the night grew quiet and the stars shone brighter in the sky, the Baron and Clara stood together in the gardens, their hands intertwined and hearts aligned. The world around them was peaceful, filled with the sounds of nature and the gentle hum of evening life. They had faced the past, reflected on its lessons, and embraced the present with clarity, love, and understanding. The future was theirs to shape, and they knew that together they could meet whatever it held. Finally, they returned to the manor, ready to rest and reflect on the day's events. The Baron felt a sense of completion, a feeling that comes when understanding, closure, and hope converge. He had confronted memories, acknowledged the past, and strengthened the bond with the woman he loved. Life would continue to bring challenges, joys, and surprises, but with Clara by his side, he was ready for all of it. As they prepared for the night, the Baron looked at Clara and whispered, "Thank you for being my partner, my friend, and my love. With you, I feel whole." Clara smiled, her eyes shining with warmth. "And I am grateful for you, Baron. Together, we will embrace life's journey, cherish every moment, and continue to grow in love." And so, the Baron and Clara ended the day with hearts full of gratitude, minds clear, and spirits united. The past had been acknowledged and respected, the present embraced with joy, and the future awaited with promise. Life would continue to move forward, with challenges, lessons, and happiness along the way. But they would face it together, hand in hand, hearts aligned, ready to create a life filled with love, understanding, and hope.